The Jikji Korea International Festival is a new festival established this year to celebrate Korea's wonderful heritage Jikji. The main exhibition of the festival, Jikji, the Golden Seed, displayed works of 35 artists from 11 countries around the world, with the majority of the artworks created specifically for this exhibition.
엄청난 가능성을 갖고 있는 굉장히 중요한 문화적 콘텐츠이자 유물이더라고요. 그래서 이걸 좀 앞으로 세계적으로 알릴 수 있는 창의적인 콘텐츠로 발전시키자는 뜻에서 금빛 씨앗이라는 주제를 잡고 전시를 기획하게 됐습니다.
The full name of Jikji is 백운화장 초록불조 직지 심체 요절. It was produced in 1377 at Hungdeoksa Temple in Cheongju, which was 78 years ahead of Gutenberg's 42-line Bible. Only the second and last volume of the book has been preserved, and the only copy is currently kept in Paris. Jikji, the Golden Seed, offered a true observance of history. The Jikji wall acts as the main gate of the festival, with some 8,000 lattice boxes engraved with a total of 16,000 Chinese characters contained in the second volume of Jikji. Also, Ron Arad gave his take on Jikji with Jikji Pavilion, inspired by the original binding form of the book.
문화라는 것은 글자를 담는 그릇 같은 것이기 때문에 알파에서 히읗까지라고 하는 그 뜻을 저기 담은 거예요.
사람과 사람 간에 소통할 수 있는 도구들이 발달해온 과정을 4가지로 나누어서 그림을 그렸는데요. 자기가 알고 있는 좋다고 생각하는 것을 더 많은 사람들한테 전하기 위한 그 마음이 이제 직지에 담겨져 있는 것 같아서.
The space for Jikji, the Golden Seed, was designed by renowned British interior designer Abe Rogers. Using Abe Rogers' impressions of Korean red as a backdrop, the exhibition displays a wide range of art, ranging from ancient artifacts and typographical works.
Our role has been to create an exhibition narrative for the exhibition. We need to make sense of the space. I'm really interested in creating an experience around the narrative that Stephanie has curated. So Stephanie creates a story through curation, and we create a narrative to tell her story through the exhibition design.
The Jikji Korea International Festival hopes to be that golden seed which fosters people's interest for Jikji. It seems like that golden seed has already taken its roots deep in the ground.
In Europe, we talk about the Gutenberg press, so I was very surprised when we came to Cheongju and learnt about the first metal plate printing press. It was very impressive.
직지가 신비하고 새롭고 뭔가 우리나라의 자랑스러운 유물 같아요. 지금 직지가 한 번 나왔으니까 한 번 더 나왔으면 좋겠어요. 직지 화이팅!
I think the exhibition really demonstrated the various creative and artistic aspects of Jikji and its influence on contemporary printing and technology and media as well. And I did find interesting that in this digital age, you chose to focus on this 14th century metal type innovation. So what significance do you think this exhibition had, and how was it preparing for this exhibition?
I draw reference to the golden seed that I wear, which I think very much is the kind of the planting of Jikji as something which grew into the world of communication. It's a metaphor that curator Kim had developed, and I think the exhibition starts to kind of build on that escalation of proliferation of ideas from these kind of very early printed technology, or even before that, it starts looking at the spoken word, the story, and how the story is still alive. Storytelling, verbally, is still alive today. But then through the curatorial paths, which we were responding to, starts to show the incredible influences that it has today, both in the form of typography, in the form of print, and then in the form of individual artworks, taking from quite a kind of conceptual stance it was dealing with the ephemeral as well as the physical. It was really trying to understand the power of print and the story that goes on behind it. And so we start to discover incredible artworks which are based around craft in the form of someone like Sangso An, and his contributions to the exhibition were extraordinary, and the opportunity to try and help tell the stories through his work was very exciting. And then you start to see Lee Man Lee's gravity screens of Korean type disintegrating.
Right.
I mean, one of the really exciting things for me that came out of the exhibition is the beauty of the Korean typeset as being the most modern alphabet in the world. And seeing how modern that feels against Gutenberg, which has printed this really heavy Gothic gold type, and these different kind of parallel worlds is quite fascinating. And that starts to get reflected in the work. You can still see the real modernity in the Korean artists working within the exhibition. And a very different take in the kind of translations from the Europeans and Americans, which were working in parallel.
You've mentioned, trying to tell a story a couple of times, and I know storytelling is kind of central to a lot of your exhibitions. So what story in particular were you trying to portray with this exhibition?
Well, a good exhibition has to have a narrative. Without it, you get lost and you leave it having visited some isolated objects.
Yeah.
And storytelling makes it a rememberable experience. For me, the key is that an exhibition should not be a linear story. It needs to be an unlinear story. Therefore, it's much more like jumping into a soup than it is reading a book.
Okay.
You know, when you eat a fantastic soup, the story is there. You can taste the coming together of all these flavours. Then you have to slowly unpick it and work out where they've come from. And I think a great exhibition can be like that. It's different essences. And the story we are telling is that of the influence of the proliferation of words and how they get under the skin of different artists and they provoke such different responses.
Right.
From the kind of super digital to the very conceptual to the absolute craft.
And I came across the term space design as I was doing some research. Can you tell us what space design means and how you designed the space in this exhibition?
Well, I mean, space design really talks about designing a space to an extent and putting everything into it. But it's not just the interior, you're designing an environment to an extent and trying to play with that environment through methods of corruption and contamination. The museum that we were presented with, or the gallery, was not a museum, it was a theatre, and we were using secondary spaces as exhibition spaces. So we had to invade it with a flood of energy which would distract the visitor from the distractions around it. You know, an exhibition must be really immersive to hold you in that story, this non-linear story. So we flooded it with this sea of red in order to act as the glue, and it becomes the thread that starts to reveal the story. And then created a series of kind of monoliths, which then act as the caption. So wherever you were in the story, as it's not in order, you could read and find out what was going on and be reminded of your navigational choices.
Do you tend to design your exhibitions based on the space you have, or is it something you have in your head already?
No, it's completely. This was a response to the. It's two things, isn't it? It's your context, your site, and your story that you're telling, and you need to find an appropriate methodology to tie those two things together that can deliver it as well as possible. The artworks were a lot of them were white on white backgrounds, a lot of them were screen-based. So we wanted this very strong glue that would really stand out, that would distract the visitors from gazing at the ceiling or over here. So they would concentrate on the exhibition and expedition, because it should be like an expedition, trolling through a sense of this discovery.
Okay, and you mentioned the colour red, and I saw some pictures of the exhibition, and it was really, really striking. Why red in particular? Was it just to distract from the space, or was there a different reason behind it?
Well, red is a colour I'm fascinated with. It has the same tonality as black. hence the history of cinemas, for example, always are red, because when you turn the lights off, they go black. They disappear. They absorb light in a very rich way. It also has incredibly strong identity. So you can talk about the red exhibition, and people know the exhibition that you're talking about. It has the ability, because of its darkness, its tonality, it can really contrast high to objects being placed on it. So when you look at the artworks, they stand out much more than as if they were on a white wall, interesting enough.
Right. And red is obviously a very important colour in Korea. What kind of impression did you get from Korea's red, shall we say?
Well, I think Korea's use of colour is amazing. You know, I've been coming to Korea since 2006, and I was lucky enough to see a traditional wedding going on, or kind of passing through the hotel, and that fantastic pink and those incredibly modernist clothes, which goes back to the modernist typography, the 5 colours, the history, you know, all those are brilliant colours for me, the amazing tonalities. And the Korean red is very powerful, symbolic colour. But I know it gets complicated because of North Korea. I believe that it's lost some of its meanings at that point in time. So we were very aware of its cultural implications, and so that kind of made it more appropriate. But that wasn't the primary reason that we weren't. It wasn't trying to be a Korean cultural demonstration. It was much more about creating an energy and life inside this slightly tired building.
I see. It's amazing watching you talk about colour, because I can see how excited you get.
I get excited generally.
But it's amazing. I've never really thought about the meanings behind colours, or the emotions that they evoke. I mean, I've only really thought about it in terms of, say, branding or marketing, but there's a much deeper emotion that it evokes in people, and that's what you're trying to get across in your
completely. And when you've lived in London, and when you open the door in the morning in London and it's not grey, it's blue sky, you smile immediately.
Definitely.
That blue, fills you full of...
We don't get many of those, so it's all the more special. Well, I think you truly deserve your title of Magician of Colour, as they call you. Right now, let's watch another video exploring Abe's amazing artistry.